welcome to the show. Thanks so much for coming to part 2 of Time Perfection. Got some special guests today. And then in typical fashion, whether you've been here before or not, do us a favor and throw your LinkedIn profile in the chat feature. Shoot us a question in the Q&A feature or the chat feature anytime throughout the episode. But really, really cool. Want to give folks like one more minute to come in. And yeah, of course we're talking AI. Of course. So, Mark, what about you though? Like, what are you using Claude as well?
Yeah, definitely. I've just kind of gravitated towards it now. I know a lot of people are making a leap for one reason or another.
I heard that. That's in the news. Big time.
I right now I pay for all of them because I find something for each. But as they develop, I think they're learning from each other, and they're each trying to adopt the things that they're weaker in to grow their strengths. And now Claude, I feel like, has really caught up to encompass what the other ones are doing. So that's why I think they're getting a huge market share. And I'm into it. It's super interesting. I do the co-work. I don't know if you're familiar with that, the new co-work that they have.
Okay.
It's agentic. It takes over your computer, can clean up your files and
gotcha.
And do all the things. Just you basically can give it access to files and do things. It's awesome.
You're talking about like an open claw type situation?
It's not open claw because that will do things without you telling it, which can get a little scary.
Yeah, totally.
This has to be allowed permission to do step and ask you, and you can also give it guardrails and stuff. But I'll tell you what, for nonprofits, I highly recommend it in so many ways. It can help, Well,
that could be a bonus. That could be some bonus content. Hey, everybody. Hey, Sarah. Hey, Jackie. Hey, Debbie. Thanks for coming. Appreciate you. Of course, like I said, of course, we had to talk about Claude. What's the recommendation, Mark, while you're at it, for Sarah?
So, sure. Well, there's two things I think that so the thing about Claude is that you can have all these connectors, so you can bring in information from other apps. One thing that I really recommend for nonprofits, if they don't have already, is a CRM. And so as you have your CRM building information, collecting information, it can tap into that, and you can, I think basically what the thing that I really think it could be good for is donor retention, donor appreciation, which I don't know if we'll get into it, but I'd love to talk a bit about that because I think it's so important.
Yeah, I think we can.
Yeah. So it's just, there's an endless amount of ways. Maybe I'll write a blog post about it or something.
I love it.
Or you could reach out to me directly, Sarah, if you like.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, connect with each other, please. Absolutely. It's good to see you, Sarah. Thanks so much. Hey, real quick, I want to get us going. I wanted to do a special shout out. Hey, by the way, my name's Trevor Nelson. Hey, Nonprofits, Sandy Hills and Wrath, our producer, all that good stuff, powered by HJ Fundraising. Okay, yeah, fun. But I wanted to do a welcome if you haven't been here before. It's good to meet you. Thanks so much for coming. And I want to do a quick shout out. Last week I did a shout out for our hospitality team, our booking team. And this week, Sandy made this beautiful post on LinkedIn about running a family business or being a part of a family business. And then we have clients that tell us and partners that tell us, well, I feel like I'm a part of a family when I'm working with you all. And I was like, it was so cool. And we were like, we watch a lot of surf videos at my house. I was like, well, Ohana means family in Hawaiian. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. So this is our Hey Nonprofits Ohana. So thanks so much for being a part of the family, everybody. And thanks to you guys as well. Really, really cool. We started this beautiful family business and it's grown to 21 people and all this good stuff. And we get to meet great people. So that's my shout out. So appreciate you, Sandy, for making that known to the world about the family. So thank you. Dan, you go. What's a shout out you got, man?
Intros or shout outs or just shout outs first?
I want you to do a shout out first, my brother.
Shout out first. Okay. I'm going to shout out to Amy and Billy, who I met because of this podcast, Hey Nonprofits.
Oh, cool.
They have this huge event that they do in Pittsburgh, and it looks incredible. It's a black tie gala. They get about 500 people there. They started off, they were just volunteers, and they built this whole huge event that apparently everybody in Pittsburgh wants to come to, and they have not yet used a fundraising auctioneer. And through this podcast, they booked me. And I'm going to be their first fundraising auctioneer, and I think we are going to do really big things, and they're going to be surprised. So shout out to Amy and Billy.
That's a great shout out, man. All right, cool. Yeah. Mark, hit me. Hit us.
I'm going to shout out my mother, who this month will be turning 90. But if you ask her, she's turning 29. Hi, Nona. She may or may not be watching. If she could, technology sometimes can elude her, but she will be watching the recording. So happy birthday, Nona.
That's awesome. Good shout out. I had a nice conversation with my mom today too, man. So that's
Nice.
awesome. Yeah, yeah. Hey,
Mhm.
well, hey, and then, yes, Dan, please, you'll do a better job than I will. Please introduce yourself. Dan Lyles, everybody, friend of the of HGA's, friend of Hey Nonprofits, been on the pod and he's been on live webinars with us as well. So happy to have you back, brother. But tell the audience who you are, what you do, where they can find you, all that good stuff.
Yeah, thanks, Trevor, man. So good to be back with you. I think this is like my third now with you guys. So
At least,
something like
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
it's
hi
a
everybody.
thing.
I'm Dan Lyles. I work primarily on the East Coast, so my major markets are North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, and I'm up and down the East Coast. But before we get started, before Mark introduces himself, Trevor, I have an admission of guilt because I just saw Sandy pop up our website. So you guys don't know this, but Mark and I have been friends for like 20 years.
Cool.
And he works primarily on the West Coast. I work primarily on the East Coast. We have zero client crossover ever. So about 2 months ago, I was on Mark's website and I saw his headline and I liked it better than mine. So I stole it. Because I thought surely there will never be a circumstance where the two of us are on a podcast together, sharing our websites to the exact same people where they can see that I copied his website.
Awesome.
And
Are we
copied his
talking
headline.
raise more funds, do more good?
Yeah, man. So
The
now,
ultimate form of flattery. That's awesome.
That's what I'm
Exactly.
saying. That's what I'm
So
saying.
Trevor,
I
now
appreciate it.
you have outed me in front of all of these people that they know that I
Almost
I'm
sounds
a
like it was by
website
design,
headline
man. It was almost
stealer.
by design. It sounds
I'm
like.
flattered. I'm flattered, Daniel. I'm flattered.
Mark Schustrin, MRK Auctions. Do us a favor, introduce yourself to the audience. It's your first time on
Dan,
Hey
were you-
Nonprofit.
were you completed with your intro? You were good?
I'm completed. Yes. Yeah. Go ahead,
cool.
bud.
Okay. My name is Mark Schustrin. I am an auctioneer. My company is MRK Auctions, and I have been doing this for 20 years. And I actually came up with Dan. Dan was my original auctioneer mentor. So the fact that he stole my website copy is an absolute honor. It's full circle. Least I could do is give you some good website copy, Daniel.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
thanks, brother.
So I'm here in Los Angeles. I do auctions all around the country, but certainly I have a 6-year-old daughter named Ava, mother Nona. You know, we are here in LA where the sun is shining today, and I just love what I do. It is an absolute passion, and I love what Dan's doing. When you get a client that has not used a professional auctioneer before, and you get to step in there and show them the stark difference, night and day, of hiring a professional. So I want to start out by saying, if you don't have a professional auctioneer, do. And if you are looking at a professional, do not, if you're a good fit with them, don't worry about the budget. Because what's another $5,000 if they're going to make you another $100,000? So that's my little brief 2 cents.
Cool.
2 cents and
Cool.
2 seconds.
Well, you're gonna get more than that, man. You're gonna get the floor here quite a few times. But hey, tickled to have both of you. Can't thank you enough. This is gonna be awesome. And it's just great that y'all are connected here. So really, really well. Hey, we want to get in a timeline. Part 2 of a 6-part series. We're going to talk about this. And this is going to be different than last week. Next week's going to be different than this week. And just bringing a ton of really, really cool content for the folks that are here and folks that are being watching as a recording as well. Do us a favor, keep the questions coming. We have 2 fundraising experts, 2 world-class fundraisers on with us for the next 50 minutes. Do us a favor, keep the questions coming the whole time, and we'll get to as many of them, if not all of them. And then also, the audience, State of the End and Win. We're going to be giving away a special prize at the end of the episode, and then more ways that you can reach out to these fine gentlemen and talk fundraising anytime. So, hey, we're talking timeline. We were meeting pre-production, and you both had your own kind of take, like 3-minute take on timing and its effectiveness, why it's so important. Dan, start with what you told us about that and your opinions about why it's so imperative, please.
Sure. Yeah, I'm pretty opinionated about this, I guess. All right. So pre-COVID, what we were seeing a lot of keynote speakers, a lot of programs lasting through dinner. And post-COVID, everybody came back and they just wanted to see their friends. They wanted to hang out. They wanted to have a good time. They wanted to drink, socialize. They wanted to give back to the organization, but they didn't want to sit through a long-form program. So my timeline's pretty much the same, what I like. Now, I'm very flexible. I can work with you on your timeline, but for the most part, I like just to coming in the cocktail hour. You're having your drinks. You're doing your silent auction during the cocktail hour. You want to get a couple of drinks in them, make sure they're feeling good. You don't want them to overdrink. Then you move them into the dinner program. Now, for me, I personally like to tee up the live portion of the give and the paddle raise portion of the give. And I like to do that by having, the executive director will come out while everybody's sitting down for dinner, do the welcome announcements, a reminder of, hey, this is why we're here. This is what you're doing. This is why it's important to give back. You do whatever kind of welcome sponsorship announcements, things like that. If you have a little speaker, you could throw them in there, but we're talking like a couple minutes, 2-3 minutes. And then you want to give them a break for dinner. I think this is probably the most important, most overlooked thing is like people try to pump their program and run it straight through dinner. I think you got to give them a break. You got to give them 15 minutes, 20 minutes to eat, talk to their friends, socialize. And then whatever program you're going to have, for me, this is what I prefer, is you want to get those people to come up right before your auctioneer. So they're only going to speak, 5-10 minutes max. And then you bring your auctioneer up. The prime time for the auctioneer to get on stage is around about 8:30 as the last dinner is being served, being eaten. Get the auctioneer up on there. What that does is that keeps people from having like a mass exodus and going for the bathroom or going for the bar. You go right into the fundraising. If we can capture them there, we'll do the live portion of the fundraising, do the live auction. Then we have our mission moment, usually about 3 minutes. That's your speaker, that's your video. Then I immediately come back for the paddle raise. No MC crossover, transfer, nothing like that. I come back in, we ask for the money, call it a day. Thanks very much. Here's how much we raised. You guys are rock stars. Let's go to the band.
Cool. Love it. Love it. Hey, thank you. Good. Perfect.
That's the ideal one for me.
No, I love it. I love it. And then you want, and you're very convicted about this, you want things to end by 9 p.m.
No, it doesn't.
As far as you want fundraising to end by 9 p.m. Pardon me.
I'm convicted in that I think the auctioneer has to be on stage before 9 p.m. And the reason why is because I've heard a lot of auctioneers say this, so I don't know if I came up with it or somebody else did, but we say that every minute past 9 o'clock, you start losing money. People start getting tired. Babysitters, got kids at home. Some of us go to sleep at 9, like me and my wife.
Yeah,
that's why I'm convicted about that.
All right. Good. Mark, anything to double click on that? And then I want to get into your take on timeline and the energy piece and all that good stuff too.
Sure. Well, first of all, I completely disagree. Daniel's completely wrong. Okay. No, I'm joking. It's, I agree with his timeline. It all makes sense. I will say that for me, there are some nuances. No two crowd donor base is exactly the same. If sometimes if you do have a donor base, the really heavy hitters are a little older and definitely don't have the energy to be there when you're asking for big bucks at 8:45 or 9. You could flip it. You could bring that fund to need forward, ahead of the live auction. Another idea with that is that people with the live auction, they'll pay attention if they're interested in the item. If they're not paying attention, it's not a big deal because you've already done that first fundraising. Now, I'm not pitching doing the paddle raise first, and predominantly I don't, but I'm just giving you some ideas of how it's not exactly the same for every nonprofit, and there's a lot of little nuances.
What are some pitfalls? I want you to both answer this if you don't mind. Mark, go ahead and go first. What are some pitfalls that you see a lot of orgs make year in and year out they should avoid, like they should cut right now, make this change right now, a real common mistake that's costing them money?
Well, I think too much programming, certainly, before the fundraising, time and time again. And I understand where it comes from. You want to recognize people, you want to give those awards out, you want to give those speeches, but that can still happen after the fundraising. And I think the bit that I'm going to get to is about energy, and it is all about energy. And, the more speakers, the more likelihood is that energy will be sucked out of the room. They'll go long. There's so many variables. So the fundraising, I just recommend keeping it tight, succinct, concise, get to the money. And then you can really do whatever you want at that point. It's like, what does anything matter,
Dan, you just did a lovely shout out for an organization that's never used a fundraising auctioneer or a consultant like yourself before, which is awesome. Maybe they're going to have things in their program that you need to extract or what have you from years past they've done when they tell you this is how we do it. What are some pitfalls, some mistakes that you can shout out right now that folks can avoid?
I think one of the most common mistakes, and people don't think about this, is not telling any of your speakers how much time you want them to have. That goes with MCs, that goes with keynote speakers, right? Because keynote speaker can do a great presentation and they can rock it out in 10 minutes. But if you don't tell them they have a 10-minute window, they might stretch it out 20 20, 30 minutes. And MCs tend to, I'm not saying all are like this, but a lot of times when you get like the local weatherman or you get the local news lady, they'll come on and they not intentionally, but a little bit more become self-serving in that it's like, hey, look at me. I need to fill this time. I need to tell jokes. I need to do a little comedy routine. And none of that's needed. Nowadays, it actually is better, I think, when you use your auctioneer as your MC, because they're just doing easy transitions, easy, hey, this is the executive director, this is our keynote speaker, this is our mission moment, and they can keep the program flowing quick because we know that for us, the most important thing is to get to the fundraising so that we can raise the most money we can. So that's the one thing I would say is like, for those of you that are executive directors out there, fundraising specialists, tell your people how much time they have. Give them the window and let them operate within that.
Real
and one thing popped in my head, Trevor, if I may.
Please.
You know, I feel like a lot of nonprofits aren't promoting their live auction items enough up front, beforehand,
Agreed.
beforehand.
Yeah.
You can't start promoting it too early, but if you don't, then they're not showing up prepared. So that's just another little thing.
No surprises.
Yeah, agreed.
Love it.
No surprises.
Hey,
yes.
It's not just because you and I are Californians and you and I are big into like, you know, chakras and energy and what have you. Talk about
you hippies.
Talk about reading audience energy and understanding that the timing isn't just about the clock and some your IP about that. Mark, please, for the audience.
Daniel's been calling me a hippie for 20 years. Well, let me tell you something, Daniel. I'm not the only one that talks about energy. How about Einstein, Tesla? Everything is energy. Quantum physics has caught up to my hippie ideas. Okay. And, but it's palpable. You could feel it. When there's a speaker that goes too long, when the timing isn't right, it gets sucked out of the room and you could feel it. And as an auctioneer, when you step into that pocket of dead energy, it is heavy and it takes so much to lift it back up. And I'll put this out there to any auctioneer that's watching to have a lot of ideas of how to lift that energy up without a detriment to the live auction. Because if you go right into that first item and that energy is down, it's going to fall flat. So I have a pocket full of tools. I mean, you could do it on the spot, pick up a bottle of wine, pick up, ask someone for their tie, whatever, and auction it off, something to just get the energy back up, stirring it back up, move around the room, have some fun with everyone out there. But the energy is so important. And it really needs to be structured properly from cocktail hour to the last dollar raised. And again, like I mentioned before, from there, if you want to have your keynote speakers, if you want to just get into dancing, whatever you want on the back end, but that energy, it's like a little bubble. It's a pocket that you need to maintain the whole time. And if it falls flat, it can have a huge effect on your bottom line.
Yeah. Dan, you're like Mark, you think on your feet quickly. Do you have any like little like grabbing the bottle of wine, having a conversation? I know you move a lot. You create a lot of motion, and motion creates emotion. You're both the same. I agree. I believe that you're both the same in that regard, and I mean that in the most respectful way. Any like little tiny thing like that, like Mark just mentioned, that the audience can take with them to get energy into the room?
Yeah, well, to echo what he was saying, the transfer of energy is probably one of the most important things, like Mark said, just because both of us have a sales background. And so we know that emotion creates the motion. So that's what he's talking about when he's like, hey, you got to do something to pick this up. We all have our little tricks and things that we do prior to the auction to get people going. But just like Mark said, you got to be able to think on the fly. And as an example, I'm sure Mark's got a funny one too, but as an example, one year I was doing a Mint Museum in North Carolina, and it was an absolute monsoon. It's a tented event. It's outside. It was a monsoon. The water was raising up. It was flooding inside of the venue, and a baby frog, I was on the dance floor, and a baby frog like jumped across the stage, and the event planner ran and like did some dive and picked it up. And before he walked off stage, he said, wait, let me sell the frog. And we sold the baby frog and ended up selling it for over $1,000. And we just let it go, of course, but it was just funny. And that's the kind of thing Mark's like, when stuff is happening that's going wrong, like somebody went too long on a keynote or something, you got to figure out how to get that energy back.
I love it. I love differentiation. I think you both know that. Not just for the sake of being different, but like folks haven't seen that before. And they haven't seen someone with a microphone have those kinds of, impromptu conversations with folks in the audience. I think that's lovely. I think it's memorable. It gets folks coming back. We had a question from Francesca. Francesca, if you're here, hello. Thank you so much for submitting this question. And it's a nudge to everybody. You can submit questions when you register for the webinars as well. the last webinar, our speakers mentioned that not allowing honorees to speak at the gala. Is there a specific reason for this other than shortening the program time? You touched on this a little bit, Dan. Hit that as far as just your reasoning other than just shortening the program.
Sure. I watched the last one with Jordan and Chris, amazing auctioneers. I agree with 99% of what they say. As far as the honorees are concerned, you can still let your honorees speak as long as they're short, sweet, and to the point. But again, this goes back to telling them how much time they have, and then it's not a problem. The reason why we don't typically do it is because if you're giving out a lot of awards, you're not going to let your sponsors talk. You're not going to let your honorees talk because it's not the time to have a commercial, right? We're there for a specific reason, for a specific mission, and then we're trying to raise as much money as we can. So I think that's what, I don't remember if it's Jordan or Chris that said that, but I think that's what they were getting at, was keep it short and sweet and let them know how much time they have.
Mark? I'd like to add to that. Because Daniel had a great description of a ideal timeline. Well, one thing you can do is look at the dinner break as a reset. So if you have programming up front and then you have that dinner break, then it's like you've kind of reset that energy. So whatever happens on the backside, on the other side of that dinner break, it's like you've started over. So if you're going to do it like that. Again, you want to make sure you talk to your people who are presenting and speaking to keep it concise. But if anything happens, it's not a big deal because the dinner resets. They're there, they're laughing, they're back engaged with dinner, and then they come back to the program. It's like it reset.
Great point.
Love it. Hey, I wanted to piggyback on that a little bit. So we've got a great case study in town. Local chamber does great work. They do a scholarship dinner, and they used to do honoree scholar. I mean, it was a long evening. Yeah. And I'm a member, and we got to talking, and I was really friendly with the previous CEO, and we got to talking. I'm like, well, why not? And I want to get your feedback on this. If I'm right, I'm right. Great. It works here for our chamber. I was like, well, for that kind of like honoree type setting where you're really, recognizing people, scholarship gifts, all these things, why not have a separate sponsored event? Right. And then what they did is actually you can still fundraise at a separate sponsored honoree specific event as well. You could add a monthly giving piece. You could add a golden ticket with a monthly, like that's actually what they did. They used a golden ticket. Like, this is fun. We're honoring these folks and we're going to take 2 hours to do it. And they completely created a separate event. Talk about that, Mark. I see you nodding. Talk about that and your thoughts on just like, okay. And I understand that the it's cumbersome. You got to get the venue. It could be more intimate. You could have just your major sponsors and major donors and folks that have been a part of your organization for a very long time, and another opportunity for them to invite new people too. But speak to that, Mark, please.
Yeah, shout out to Janelle Taylor, Gala Gal, because she does a great. She teaches a lot of auctioneers, and I remember one thing that she taught. Maybe they even teach this in BAS. If you don't know what BAS is, that's a benefit auction specialist designation from the National Auctioneer Association. And one thing they teach, or they both teach, or everyone teaches, is that you want to really identify what you want to have. What is this? Is this a fundraiser? Is it a party? Is it an award show? You don't want to try and combine all these things, right? Because then it's to the detriment of the fundraising. So I think this is a great idea that you have the gala format and don't try and bring in too many other things, and then have a separate awards ceremony, like you're saying, awards event. And I think that could be very effective. Listen, more ways to engage your donors is great. And you can have fundraising portions. You can do other revenue ideas. And so I think that's a great idea, Trevor. I think it's a great point.
Thank you, brother. Dan?
Well, I was reading Jenny. I don't have anything to comment on.
No, okay, cool.
Mark's
yeah, let's get. No, perfect. All right.
I'm just not going to say the exact same thing he said, so I agree.
No, I got it. Yeah, perfect.
You can say ditto.
Jenny, hey, great question, and this comes up every episode. Love it. I think it's great because we're going to get some feedback from the pros. When is a good time to have the silent auction end? Is it better to have it end before the paddle raise or just before the band starts? Dan, get it started.
We used to be pretty serious about the fact that the silent auction would need to close before the live auction did, because we were thinking, everybody's got money out there. They're bidding on multiple items. They're calculating how much money they have in their head, and they might reserve what they're spending on for the live auction. I've gone away from that. I don't think that's the case anymore. I think it's the whole foot in the door mentality. Once you start spending, you'll carry on spending. So it's not that I have a preference of when the silent auction ends, but I do have a preference that somebody ends it, usually me. So I like to do it because what I find is everybody has that eBay or that MacBid mentality where they're going to wait and do the bulk of their bidding right at the end. So I like to say, hey, during the tail end of dinner, if I'm closing it before the live auction, 15 minutes before the silent auction closes, and then 5 minutes before the silent auction closes, last chance, get your phones out, make your final bids right now. This one needs bids. This one needs bids. Let's go. 5 minutes, done. And then, so I typically like to close it down before I get on for the live auction. But just to answer the question, I don't see any reason that you can't leave it open until the end of the night. I just think a lot of people do their final bids in those last 5 minutes.
I love it. Mark?
Yeah, I typically recommend to close it before the live because then the focus is on the next phase of fundraising. However, sometimes we don't do that, and I agree with Dan. I think it's a great concept to once they've already kind of started giving, that may translate into more giving the silent. But what I would urge all the nonprofits to do is look at all your data year over year, try different things out, because no two crowd is the same. So it can't just be a one size fits all for any of this. So again, if you 1 year you close it before the live auction, the next year you leave it open, which did better? It takes 2 years to figure that out. So that's just a recommendation I would give.
Yeah, and Jennifer was asking, she was saying that they do their silent auction during dinner and speaking, and then the tables close, they announce the winners, and then do the live auction, the paddle raise, not knowing if that's okay. I think it's okay, and I think it's probably best practice, just coming from me. I think it is, but I think the way you'd get the most out of that is if you had somebody close it down, audibly tell the group at dinner, hey, we're closing it down. You've got 5 minutes left to get your bids in. And I think you'll see a spike in the bidding right there at the end.
And
I agree.
Mark, I really like how you're, you're nudging folks to try this and, look at the data and what have you. Any thoughts? And I want to hear from both of you as well. Mark, you go ahead and start. Any thoughts on keeping the silent auction open after the event? We've had a lot of organizations come to us using, technology, obviously mobile bidding software, sending out the text blast, the email blast. We're this close to our goal. Oh my gosh, the evening was amazing. We hit this goal, but we still have items available. Maybe it was a live auction item that sold 10 times and we want to give folks a buy it now opportunity or whatnot. A lot of great feedback we're getting from folks that are doing that. Any thoughts on reopening it or keeping it open post-event throughout the weekend, whatever, stuff like that, Mark?
Sure. Well, I think I want to echo Dan's statement that whatever happens, it really needs to be promoted that it's closing because people wait, they're not paying attention. It just needs to be brought to their awareness that it's closing, however that happens. But I think that keeping it so if you close it before the fundraising happens, you certainly can have a re-offer of things that didn't sell or didn't hit reserve, et cetera, et cetera. But it's kind of the same answer where it depends. There's no there's no right one way to do things. And certainly if you keep it open, that could work and see if it does. And then, I think it's the same answers I gave before. See what works for you, see what works for your crowd, because it could also be that your crowd is a type that once they leave that room, they're not even, it's out of sight, out of mind, right? It's like, even if you text them, nothing goes, but you have them as a captive audience there at the event. So keep that in mind.
Dan, any thoughts about keeping it open post-event?
Yeah, I would say no. I would say open it up a week prior to your event. I think, like Mark said, once everybody's done, they're kind of done. But what I would do is to answer somebody's question they had up there. I'm not a fan of taking silent auction items that didn't sell and putting in the live. I think when it's done, it's done. But what I am a fan of is sending the follow up, like Mark was saying. So any items that we multipled, if they were consignment items or something, and they sold whatever that sales price was, hey, don't miss out on this Crotona, Italy trip. $6,500 last chance on this, or here's the silent auction items you can still get that have a buy it now on them. So do that post auction, but I think you need to close it down for the end of the night.
Love it. Hey, you both mentioned, and we kind of bookmarked it, energy in the live auction and the crescendo and things of that nature, the reverse bell curve, the bell curve, all these things. I want you to talk to the audience because you both have really great feedback on how you do it. With regard to different auction items, and you can use hypotheticals, case studies, things like that. But Dan, talk about like how you structure the live auction items for the most impact, and we'll get into, of course, energy as well, because we're Californians, me and Mark. But but that being said, talk about that, structuring the live auction. You've both, the reason why we bookmarked, and I really want folks to understand this. You said, okay, make sure you advertise. When's too early, when's too late. We want to make sure there's no surprises, things of that nature. But get into that, if you don't mind, Dan, about structuring the live auction. Yeah.
Yeah, well, so most of us kind of follow the same general idea. You guys have probably heard that before with the bell curve. You save the highest price items, you put them in the middle so that all of your underbidders, the people that lost that item or were saving their money for that item, still have money to spend on the back end. So we see that with most auctioneers. They usually start with kind of like a fire starter item, something that can get people going, get them bidding. So we want to get them bidding at a lower priced item because psychology tells us if we can get them to put up the bid cards once, they're more likely to do it again, maybe a little bit later in the paddle raise. So we work up to the main item. We come down on the backside to give everybody a chance to kind of spend their money. Now, I will tell you that I'm looking into doing something different because my friend Megan McRoberts, she's a pretty well-known auctioneer, and she says she tried this thing where she front-loaded the live auction and she put her best items up first and just ran them down and started everything out at $1,000 to get the engagement. So I think I'm gonna give that a try one time, but I don't know about changing what I know works. And that's what I know works is getting that engagement early on and then carrying that over into the paddle raise. Mark?
That's funny that you say that, Dan, because that is something that I've tried just once so far, because you can't do that with everyone. The trick to that is it has to be a well-established event, well-established donors, larger event that's plated and seated, and all the items are high ticket. So like, an auction that maybe at the Beverly Hills Hotel with like a lot, the ballroom style seated donors that that have been with the organization for 10 years, it'll mix it up for them. It literally will carry over into the paddle raise, where the paddle raise will raise more. So it can be very effective, but it also has to be specific. It's not for everyone again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Love it. And then when the room, yeah. Okay. Let's just talk about this, because folks in the audience have had this happen when you're not getting, and maybe they haven't used a professional benefit auctioneer and a great fundraiser at their event yet. When they lose the room because, I call it the Charlie Brown teacher effect. It went wah, wah, wah with the item. You mentioned about getting energy back in the room. When you lose it, you grab the bottle of wine, Dan told the frog, this and that, the other thing. What's a good way to overcome that so you don't lose the energy? Once again, folks. Yeah.
Okay. Please. Well, I think some good strategies to get that energy stirring is movement, whether it's with the guest or with you. Getting out into the crowd really does keep that energy going. So I don't know how many auctioneers listen to us, but, get off that stage, You can have the actual guests participate in standing up or doing something that can certainly help. You can also do the opposite. You can have everyone quiet for a moment, and that will bring the attention and the intensity back to what you're doing. And then you can spin it. That's another idea. You can just have jokes with people. Like, the whole thing is, if you know about sales, it's about building rapport. So the more things you can do to riff off the crowd, they want to play with you. You don't want to be this distant talking head on a stage far away that's not connecting with the people. You're asking them to give. You're asking them to open their hearts. Well, the more you connect with them, the more they will open their hearts and the more they will give. So, all of this is a win-win. Get out there. If the energy's dying, build some rapport, joke around, have fun, let loose a bit, and I think that could definitely help.
Yeah, I really like, Dan, when you've mentioned multiple times. You just mentioned it a couple minutes ago when you said once we get a paddle in the air, psychology dictates that we're going to get it in the air again. Yeah, your focus is making sure that we have the live auction before the paddle raise fund and need portion. Typically, as a result, talk about that and how we can be more thoughtful and proactive about having items, for instance, in the live auction that start getting more paddles in the air. I want to hear both of you talk about too. Like, should everyone have a paddle? Should husbands and wives or partners both have paddles? Things of that nature and what have you? Because I'm fascinated. We can do a deep dive on paddles as well. But I'm fascinated with that psychology that you mentioned. I'm pretty sure I heard it from you first, man. And you just said it a couple minutes ago, where it's like once it's in the air, we can get it in the air again. Why not get more is my theory, but I'm not an auctioneer. So talk to that if you don't mind, Dan.
Sure. Well, just kind of going back to what Mark was saying about the energy level on the floor. I think that something that separates fundraising auctioneers from all other styles of auctioneers, because Mark and I are prominently fundraising auctioneers. That's all I do. And so I find that a lot of other auctioneers, general personal property, real estate, cattle and car, they come over and they play in our space, But those people are used to standing on stage, like Mark said, and just accepting the bids. Whereas a fundraising auctioneer goes out to the audience and engages and takes the bids. So when you were like, what happens when there's crickets? Well, there's never a time in my career as a fundraising auctioneer that I couldn't drive the price up. Because what happens is if we can't get the price, then we're going to roll it back down and start like engaging people and getting them to have a little fun. It might be $100, but once they get locked in, then they'll carry on bidding. And sometimes when you don't get that initial price, when you're like fishing and you're trying to get something for $5,000 and it doesn't go, and you roll it back to $1,000 and you get the engagement, that thing will end up selling for $8,000, $9,000. It happens all the time. So I think that's kind of what separates us from other types of auctioneers. As far as like what types of items, Italy has been the huge seller this year. Oh my gosh, I probably sold 100 of those trips through HGA. And then a lot of chef experiences. I don't know if you see this a lot, Mark, but I found that everybody's got a friend that's a local chef or has a restaurant that they can do. And the chef experiences have gone great for us. And another thing that I see is that when you get a chef experience donated to you, a lot of times people are like, well, they're only going to do one. Well, for us, we're running that thing up to $8,000, $9,000, $10,000. Go to that chef, ask that chef, what's the cost of your food, your beverage, the wine pairings, your server staff, your margin? What is it, $1,500, $2,000? If we run it up, can I sell a second one, pay you that consignment cost, and then sell more than one? So those have been two very strong items for us recently, I think.
Love it.
Mark, you got anything you want to add on that?
Yeah, one thing I see for a lot of first-time clients, and I don't think it continues past the first year, is they'll give in the auction notes opening bids, and they'll be very high, and I'll have a talk. I'll say, listen, it's a lot of times it's like a paradox. Really, the lower you open, the higher you fetch because you get more participation. It's more about the participation than it is than anything else. That's the main key factor. So if you open lower, you get more participation. And just like Dan said, sometimes even when we think it's going to be low enough, it may be that there's crickets and you quickly have to lower it again. But when you do, it generates that momentum and you get more than you even thought you would. So trust your auctioneer, make sure you hire a professional, someone who has experience, because a lot of that is intuitive. We're in the moment. We're feeling the crowd. We're basing a lot of what we do off of not only our 20 years of experience, but also how this last auction item sold, what everything that's happening in the moment. We're processing everything, but that really only comes from experience. And then the types of items. Yeah. The types of items is next. Is that what we're saying?
Sure. Well, Dan added that, but yeah.
Oh,
feel
okay.
free.
No, it's
Whatever
okay.
you like.
Ditto, Dan. Ditto. Everyone loves Italy.
No, it's good.
I think unique items, people want unique stuff.
I love building out
and
the chef experience, or my go-to is because I know people that have great wine. So it's like, it's like people I'm not even a wine drinker, but I know people have great cellars and what have you and whatnot. Jason, our co-founder, my business partner, has great wine, and it's like he could have a dinner at his house for 10 people, that kind of thing. So
Jason's really working on a trip for me right now. He's coming up with some Napa experience that he's going to customize for us auctioneers out there, because we all, especially on my coast, on the East Coast, everybody wants to go to Napa, right? Totally. I mean, you guys live over there, so it's probably not as exclusive as for us, but we've had trouble finding great Napa experiences with Sonoma or Paso Robles, and he's coming up with something for me now.
That's an easy way for me to get him to California. Yeah. No, it's great. Hey, Gala is here. Janelle mentioned.
What's up, Janelle?
Mentioned. Great shout out, Mark, and thanks for coming back, Janelle. Good to see you. She mentioned reinforcing Dan's point. The auctioneer actually is mentioning the silent auction is closing. She recommends throwing a 5-minute countdown clock on your big screens for reinforcement. Just show folks what's going on. Sarah, great to see you. We are doing a more participatory, that's a good one, show this year, sort of a newscast style, incorporating our clients and bouncing back and forth from audience to stage. That's cool. Participation is great. I love it. We're getting a lot of questions. It's about timing and timeline, but I like the questions being about a good use of time. Sarah mentioned Our auctioneer starts a relationship building with the crowd during the social strolling dinner, creates a rapport early. Yes, absolutely. I think a great use of time.
Yeah, wait,
Building
before you
excitement.
move on, Trevor, a
Yeah,
good
please.
thing
Yeah.
that I just started doing recently that I've got from somebody, American Cancer Society will give us like a dossier, have like people's
hmm
faces and the people that we need to know. I think that was really cool.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
have several clients that do that for me
Something you
too.
guys can do.
Hmm.
absolutely. Good
Just to
question.
just to
Please.
piggyback on that,
Yes.
whoever your point person is as an auctioneer with the organization during that cocktail hour, if you don't have something that you've put together printed out, just do a little walk around, be like, "That's Bob, that's Cindy,"
Exactly.
and all. That's all we need, and then
Love it.
from there we can organically meet them in the cocktail hour.
Mhm.
hmm
So
Love it. Love it. Great question from Steve. Steve, appreciate you if you're here. Thank you so much. How do you build excitement for your silent, and it's synonymous, silent and or online auctions? How do you build excitement?
I'll take this. I'll take this because actually this plays into the last question. Something that I've done for a while, and I don't do it for every event, but it could be fun if there's really a lot of action going on a particular item. You can actually get there and do a little mini auction. And I don't know
Mhm.
if anyone's ever talked about this on the show because it's been done forever, but I don't know if it's done as much anymore. But you literally just auction off the silent auction item right there, and then it gets people engaged, seeing you, seeing how you auction. It's fun, it's exciting, and it sells the thing for way more than the silent auction would right there on the spot. So that's a little fun thing to do.
Love it. Dan, any ways you can add excitement?
So I like to get on the microphone in the cocktail hour so people get used to hearing my voice, seeing my face. I'm not on
Mhm.
stage, but I'm walking around, and I like to have, if the cocktail is separate from the main gala ballroom, then I like to have a microphone out there with an external speaker so that I can get on,
Definitely.
log into whoever's the auction software provider, look at the items that have no bids, pump those items, and talk about the ones that I think are cool. So I just do like little commercials for them as I go down. Because again, yeah, for me, I'm not thinking this is taking away money from the live auction of the paddle raise. I'm thinking if I can get them to spin right here, I've got a better chance of getting money from them out of the live auction and the paddle raise.
More.
I'd like to
and
add.
more
I'd like
paddles
to
in
add
there.
as well. Sorry, Trevor.
Yeah.
I'd
No,
like
you're
to
great,
add
bro.
as
Yeah.
I'd like to add as well that if you're working with a platform like One Cause or any online platform, you can ask the representative or whoever's working and say, "Listen, what items have no bids or low bids?" And there's
Mhm.
literally a list that real time of things that have no bids, and you could pump it up. Or just
Yeah.
in that vein, you just pump up any of the exciting items as well that you drip during that time.
What about the reciprocal of that, Mark, where it's an item that got a ton of bids, but you can get
Yeah.
more for it, for instance, as well? I mean,
Take
any
it
thoughts on that?
live.
Yeah,
Take it
yeah.
live. Take it to a
I
little mini
love
live
this.
auction. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's fun.
I
It's
don't
super
hear
fun.
this. Yeah, I don't hear this very much. That's awesome.
Super
That was a
fun.
big takeaway for me. Also, I want you to speak to this, y'all. I mean, it's convenient being who we are to say you could put some cool destinations, maybe that don't fit in your live auction just yet, but you hear me talk about that we can test items. We can test some bespoke destinations in the silent. There's no exposure. If they get no bids, you're out nothing, obviously. For instance, once again, if you're working with items like ours, I love the idea of adding excitement to a silent auction online portion that you haven't seen before, that folks haven't seen before. They've just seen the gift cards or the baskets or what have you, but
Yes.
there's an experience involved or someone built out concert tickets. Maybe you're not even having a live auction. I think that's a really cool way to incorporate some exciting items and what have you. Any thoughts that you want to share about that, or what you've seen, or what you're wanting to see, for instance, at events?
Yeah, Mark, did you notice that the California boy said y'all to make me feel better? You see
Yeah,
that?
he's tried it. That's a great host for you to
That's
really
a
make
great,
your
host.
your
Corporate
guests
offices
feel
in Oklahoma,
comfortable.
man. Our corporate offices in Oklahoma, they got to be
Make
there.
that Southern
Okay?
boys feel more at home.
That's so funny.
So I've seen that more and more, and I think it's a great idea to put
Yeah.
those types of trips in the silent auction because, quite frankly, I think people are kind of over the whole gift baskets or the gift cards or the dinners and the sports packages, low end tickets and stuff like that. And I think when you can add trips on there, they could be very high premium trips because, like you said, Trevor, if they don't get the bids, then that's fine. But if you've marked them up and they're making the nonprofits making money off of them, and you can offer 10 trips or so, we do it a lot. And we call it super silent. You've probably done this,
Yeah.
Mark. Well, we'll take like 5 really cool exclusive trips outside of the silent auction. They'll live on their own table, and we'll pump those up to get more bids on those, and they'll be completely separate from the live auction.
Mark,
Yeah, I
anything
think
to share about that? Yeah, please.
Sure. I think HGA does. It's on your website. I think that you guys have a vacation table, I think is what you call
Hmm.
it, which I guess is
Hmm.
basically the same thing as the super silent.
Hmm.
And I want to urge all nonprofits out there who are watching to again look at your data, look at your returns. Is your silent auction in general even worth it? I don't know. A lot of
Yeah.
nonprofits are deciding not to. If your silent auction is 300 gift baskets, how much time does that take you to put out there and set up these tables? And how
Right.
much are you getting in return when you
Yeah.
can have one super silent table? And by the way, I'm just playing devil's advocate. I'm not saying don't do this, do this.
Yeah.
But my coming back to the point of really look at what works and run the numbers and run what your return is, because I know how much work it is to set up these silent auction areas. It's immense work.
Yeah.
So just look at everything, see what it's worth. And it could be that a super silent table or a vacation table could bring you more than your entire 300 gift baskets. So something to
Agreed.
consider.
I love it. I love that you keep double clicking on data and looking at the psychology, bidder behavior. It does absolutely bleed into the gratitude piece. I'm so bullish on the vacation station, super silent, that I think it's such a great proving ground where you can identify, and I'm just using a moniker here, new mid-level donors. I'm very, very passionate about this because we get a ton of feedback from organizations that do incorporate this type of strategy where, and let's talk about this too. It's like you got a destination. Let's say there's a reserve price of $3,000. We open the bidding up at $3,750, $4,000, and let's just say it's a bumper item and it gets 8-10 bids. Let's just say half of those bids were from someone that's never been to your event before, and they were willing to spend $4,000 plus on an item, sight unseen, never been to your event.
Yeah.
And I want to get into the gratitude piece too with both of you about how you can use data like that. Once again, we're talking about timeline, but we're talking about good uses of your time. I think it's a great use of your time to find that person at the event that was willing to give you $4,000. I want you to both talk about, do you think that person was going to give you $4,000 in the fund a need or paddle raise portion? Talk about that. If I saw a couple eyebrows rise up. Dan, talk about that a little bit, just the strategy behind that.
Did you say me or Mark?
Yeah, please, if you don't
me?
mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I'm a little biased because I'm a huge fan of consignment. I put consignment items in all of my auctions.
Sure.
So if whatever you can get donated, fantastic. But typically people are only getting maybe 4 or so items donated, and then I fill mine with consignment. I do not think it takes away from the paddle raise. I do not think that bidder is necessarily going to bid in the paddle raise. You've heard me say this before, Trevor, but I'm very adamant that there are a couple of different types of bidders, mainly a transactional bidder and a philanthropic bidder. And your transactional bidders are typically the ones that are getting involved in the live auction. They're the ones that are the extroverts. They like the fun and excitement of the live auction. That is not for everybody. My wife would be mortified. She wouldn't get into a live auction competition with Mark Schustrin. She's not going to do it, but she'll bid in the paddle raise. So that's the only place that she's going to put her bid card up, unless we give her a reason to do it in something else, like the silent auction or vacation station, where she's not going to get somebody in a live auction setting. So it might capture a philanthropic bidder who would not normally bid outside the paddle raise, and now they are also getting into your silent auction by being able to do it like anonymously or buy it now. So that's kind of how I feel about that consignment stuff. What do you think, Mark?
Love it. Mark.
Well, I think that consignment, again, like Dan said, obviously, if the ideal is that 100% of the sale price goes to the nonprofit, but certainly there's something to be said for adding something that's very special, something that really adds a lot of energy to the live auction, so that it makes it more exciting. If something sells high, that lends itself well to all the other items that you're selling. There's that, and so. It's about strategy. There's a lot of different ways you can leverage consignment items. So certainly that is just another tool, in the toolbox. Yeah.
What do you think about my thought about identifying new folks by using things like a super silent auction and what have you, and a good use of time and getting lost in the data there?
Yeah, I think it's a very effective way, because how else would you if it may have been that they weren't going to give, and it's not cheap to actually convert new donors. It's actually much cheaper to retain donors by a fraction. They say that there's an average of, it costs $1.50, per head to get a new donor. It costs 20 cents to keep and retain a current donor. So I don't know if we're going to get into it, but certainly donor retention is a big part of this whole thing. But a new donor, if you could come up with more creative ways to get them out of the woodworks. And again, just like Dan says, in the event, when someone gives, then it's easier for them to give. Same goes with the entire giving tray. It doesn't matter where it's coming from. And so once you get them in the ether,
Exactly. It's like upgrading. It's upgrading.
Yeah.
You get them in, get the foot in the door, and then they want to keep going. It's fun. It's addictive. It's like, I'm not a gambler, but I would imagine it's a bit like that, right? You're getting into it and getting into the giving.
I love it. Hey, Tiffany, great to see you. Great question. Comes up a lot, and I want to hear from the experts. What are your suggestions for the number of silent auction packages? Half the number of wallets for there's 200 people, maybe 100 giving units, 50 packages, or do you suggest something else, Dan?
So I've seen silent auctions that are 50 to 100 things. And like Mark said, the procurement of those items, I think, is a big headache for the staff. And I think it dilutes a lot of the other items. I'm a big fan of 30 or less. I think 30 is a good number. 50's fine, but in my opinion, it's got to be less than that, because at some point it's like diminishing returns, right? People are not bidding on items. You spend a lot of time to get these things, and they're not putting the money into them. So give them better quality items, give them less of them, and pump them up, or get your auctioneer to pump them up. And I think they'll sell better than spreading it across 50 to 100 items. Hate silent auction recruitment. Tiffany just said it's awful. I know. We're not even events people. We're just auctioneers. We just
we feel for you, though. We feel for you.
Almost like why we got into business, to make it easier for folks. It's almost like that's what we were doing. Hey, Mark, thoughts about the ideal amount? I understand that every event has its own uniqueness, atmosphere. Is there an equation that you use, like the one that Tiffany just reiterated in the chat?
So I kind of have the idea, both with the silent and the live, that there's a balance between quality and quantity. And, some people will say, how many live auction items have, how many silent auction items have? It's about, if you have a bunch of good stuff that can raise a bunch of money, then sell it. At some point, if you get into 500, if you have amazing stuff, which frankly, why not? If you have 500 amazing items that are going to raise 5,000 each, sure. I mean, I'm joking when I say that, because 500 is overkill. There is diminishing returns, regardless of what I'm saying now. At some point, like, you don't want to have 30 live auction items. However, if you have really good stuff, then sell it. But don't look for a number and try and fill it with a bunch of gift card baskets.
Stuff.
That's my stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. We've seen a lot of that has changed dramatically. Dan mentioned at the top of the hour that things were a lot different pre-COVID. Things are a lot different now, and we're seeing that trend in that direction as well. Folks don't want stuff because I get stuff to my front door, delivered to my front door today, for instance, right?
Yeah, it's easy.
We had a question. We bookmarked this one too. Did we already talk about like the ideal time as far as promoting different giving opportunities, right? Like, we're going to have a fund and need. We're going to have a paddle raise. Let's get into like just the timing of that. We got 5 minutes left. I want a last call for questions with everybody. But like, Mark, talk about, I want you to start, and then Dan, I absolutely want you to finish as well. But what's the ideal amount of time to start promoting the live auction items, the super silent, the fact that we're having the paddle raise that's going to fund this, or the fund of needs specifically going to fund this? Talk about that just pre-event.
Sure. Well, it's all about prepared bidders. So I don't think there is a too early, because I know a lot of stuff comes together at the end. So don't wait for the live auction to all come together at the end. When you get a killer item, feature it in an email blast, or a social media post. You don't have to wait till it's all together, because the idea is for as much preparation as possible for these bidders, because the thing that stops bidding is friction, is not knowing what it is. How many days again, honey? Where are we? What date are we going to the thing? You don't want them looking in their calendar at the event saying, when's our son's graduation, or whatever it is, right? So the earlier, the earlier the better. And then you could do a full scope closer to the event when everything is together.
Dan, what's the ideal
Yeah.
amount of time? Yeah.
Well, Mark and I have pretty strong sales backgrounds, and so we call it dripping in sales, right? Preparing, like you said, preparing your bidder by sending out the e-blast. I love that. I think that's a great thing, and I think oftentimes nonprofits overlook it. It's so simple, just to say, check out this awesome auction package that we have coming up on our auction date of March 13th. Check out this one, this trip to Italy. Check out this trip to the Caribbean. You get to pick where you want to go, and just doing that dripping prior to the auction. Like Mark said, I don't necessarily think there's a bad time to start it. I think when the tickets go on sale, you start sending them out. But really that week leading up to the auction, that's when they should get here's the 6-7 items we're going to have come up for bids. Get ready for these. Don't miss out.
I love it. I think it's just another reason to get in front of people.
Yeah.
To stoke the fire. I love it. I think it's fantastic. Yes. I will also say, and I'm not pushing back Sarah. Sarah said, we got rid of our silent auction. I totally understand where Tiffany and Sarah are coming from. I think there's another opportunity with like a super silent or a vacation station to test super low lift. It doesn't have to even be with us. I think it's another great opportunity to get it underwritten or sponsored. If you haven't done it at your event before, it could be the vacation station brought to you by organization XYZ. Maybe they can't buy a table. I love it. I love it. We're definitely doing the golden ticket. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. Golden ticket's great. Love the golden ticket. Awesome. Hey, okay. In closing, fellas, I mentioned this when we met, I think yesterday, something that you're using and Sarah reminded me, we got 2 minutes, something that you're using as a revenue enhancer, like a golden ticket that it could be a game, an interaction piece. We're talking about good uses of time that get energy up. Mark, something you're testing that you've been using for years that you love, anything under the sun, please go.
Dan, you go first.
Okay, sure, Mark. Put me on the spot, no problem. So most of your auctioneers, good fundraising auctioneers, will know about Last Hero. That's the one you play at the end of the night after the paddle raise at the $100 level to get people to donate there. It's a fun game. It's awesome. One I like to do that I think is a little bit different. People have heard of centerpiece auctions. I call it a table auction because I think it's a different spin on it. I'm not selling a flower arrangement. We'll typically take something that means something to the organization. As an example, we did it recently in American Cancer Society, and it was a Mediterranean theme, and we took a bottle of olive oil. And every table got a $30 bottle of olive oil. And then what you do is it's a great lead in for me as the auctioneer because it's the first time they're seeing me. And so I'm getting them get excited for the auction. And so we basically just have an auctioneer at each table, and they are selling that live bids at the same time. Everybody goes at the same time to just their table only. So you get the bid cards flying. It's hilarious. It's funny. It's chaotic. I would love to go into detail on how to execute it because I got a whole strategy behind that. But if you're doing Last Hero, fantastic. If you haven't had your auctioneer do a table auction before and they don't know how to do it, I think a lot of us probably do. But that's a really fun revenue enhancer. Last one I did just this past weekend generated an extra $20,000 before I even called my first bid. So it's pretty awesome. Love it. Mark?
Yeah, I'd love to present things that are not what everyone knows, like the last I call it last paddle battle, last hero standing is great. But there are other things, one thing you can leverage are your bid cards. I don't know a lot of people doing this, where you can actually put have an auction sponsor and put their logo on the bid card and charge them 10 grand, 20 grand, 25,000, that can actually make you money, and then pay for your auctioneer who's going to make you a lot more money. Yep. So that's one idea. I think there's an opportunity, which I haven't done much with yet because I'm still trying to figure out how to leverage it. But every time you sell an item, there's a bidder right behind them. You can't double every item. So Dan, what do you think? Do you think there's a way? I was thinking about this today or yesterday. When you sell the item for $10,000, there was a $9,000 bidder, let's say. What do you think? Do you think you could go to the bidder and say, listen, thank you for being our bidder to get us up. Can we give you an opportunity to give some or any of that right now to the cause? Live or after? Live, right there. Is that, maybe we can ask our nonprofit fellows as well to see how they would feel, what they think about that. But I just think that there's an opportunity there in between. I'm not a fan of putting people on the spot or making them feel awkward or uncomfortable. Yeah, and so when I sell and I multiply items, I don't ask them if they want to donate.
I sell to the underbidder. So for instance, if we're at
Yes.
$7,000 and the underbidder was dropped out at 6,500, they're not going to go 7,500. I say, listen, we're going to roll it back. You get one at 6,500. You get one at 6,500. Bid cards up. Who else wants one? And I know other auctioneers are like, hey, will you come up and you sold at 7,000? Will you do 7,000 too? And then you put them on the spot. A good fundraising auctioneer does not do that. You get one at 6,500. You get one at 60. You were already in. Let's go. Who else wants one?
Yeah. It's almost like insurance. Yes, you're running it back a bid, but you already have the commitment at that lower level. Right. And so this person's going to get a deal on from what you were asking. So everyone's happy and you don't have to it's worth that investment for the doubling. But
I do think there's room to go to the underbidder if somebody's watching a recording and going to the underbidder post auction and saying, hey, did you miss out on that trip? If we could do it at $6,500, would you do it? Because that's a if I would you statement. You know, it's another sales thing. If I do this, will you do that? If we could do it for 6,000, would you do it? And then bring them in.
Yeah,
totally.
Hey, Jennifer asked, and hey, real quick, I wanted to highlight the winner today, Lynn Emmerich of the Rise Foundation, providing foster and adoption support. Just want to make sure that we, because we're running out of time, but we can stay and I want to answer that question that actually Jennifer just popped up too. But hey, Lynn, congratulations and thanks so much for coming. I know some folks were past the hour they have to go, and we're going to wrap here very, very soon. And we'll see whoever's leaving. We'll see you all next Thursday as well. Love it. Thank you so much, Beth Ann. Can't thank you enough for coming. And Sarah, I love it. I love all of Sarah's ideas. Sarah's a great fundraiser. Amazing fundraiser. Appreciate you coming. Champagne gem skirt, fun to need, puzzle style for engagement, last hero, AV, print program, all these different underwriting opportunities. Love it. Sarah's, like I said, Sarah's a great fundraiser in her own respect as well. So Thank you, Jackie. Appreciate it. Hey guys, before you leave, answer Jennifer's question real quick, if you don't mind. Are we allowed to do that no matter how many people are in at $6,500 when you guys were just giving your case study about selling to the underbidder?
So does that mean that we're dealing with a consignment item? I mean, if you have
probably, but if you have a donated chef experience and you can get two, then we talked about that earlier as well. Yeah.
Because if you have an item that you can sell multiple times, just your auctioneer should say, just like Dan said, who else wants one? First, you lock in those two doubled bidders, and then you look to the crowd. Who else wants one? Who else wants one at the price that they've already committed to? And you'll get 3, 4, 5, who knows how many more.
Perfect.
If that answers.
Because then you're turning your philanthropic bidder in the paddle raise, you're turning them into a transactional bidder because you're giving them a buy it now. It works like a charm. Sell to the underbidder, sell to the high bidder. Who else wants one? And you'll start seeing bid cards go up. Yeah, you should be selling 7 to 30 of those in auction.
Jennifer, we'll have obviously Mark's information and Dan's information. You can reach out to both of them and anyone that's here as well. Sandy, if you don't mind throwing up each gentleman's websites and email address, if you don't mind us putting your business in the street, guys. Obviously, you have your number, ways to contact you on your website, all that good stuff. Please, I'm nudging everyone. Reach out to these gentlemen. Please reach out to them and ask any other questions. They already agreed. They would give you their time. Sorry, guys. You already agreed. Like I said, putting your business in the street. But hey, we're gonna wrap. In anything in closing, can't thank you both enough for coming. Appreciate you both so much. Thanks for coming. This is your first episode and your invitation to come back, Mark.
Thank you, Trevor.
When you come back, you can bring Dan with you as well, man. So it's really great. Appreciate you guys so much. Thanks so much for coming. Anything in closing,
Mark?
Sure. Well, first of all, Trevor, thank you for having us. Dan, love you, buddy. And I just want to end how I started by, if you don't have a professional auctioneer, get one. If you are hiring a professional, make sure you hire a professional with experience. And if you are considering a professional that you know is a good fit for your organization and your crowd, just pay them what they're asking, because they're going to bring revenue 10, 100-fold. I don't even know. I can't say 100-fold. Probably that's probably extreme. But the point is, they're going to raise a lot of money from you. If you're spending $10,000 on flowers, spend $10,000 on your auctioneer plus. So that's my 2 cents, my 10,000 cents. Thank you for having me, Trevor. This has been a pleasure. Daniel?
Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, and I would say if you are on the West Coast, Mark is an incredible auctioneer. He did have a pretty good trainer, but he is an incredible auctioneer, and he would do a fantastic job for you. So hire Mark if you're on that coast.
Dan's great on the East Coast. He has a wonderful website. So check it out.
If you're on the East, okay. Listen, I apologize for the headline, but I'm not going to change it. It's mine now.
If it's good, it's good. If it's good, it's good.
It's ours, buddy. It's ours.
Hey, I appreciate you both so much from me, from Sandy, from the entire family at Hey Nonprofits and HJ Fundraising. Can't thank you all enough. Can't thank everyone enough for staying with us long. And like I said, we'll see you all same time, same channel next Thursday. Do us a favor. Go to the Hey Nonprofits YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button, leave us a comment, say hello, connect with these gentlemen and thank them for us. Show them some HJ and Hey Nonprofits love if you don't mind. And like I said, we'll see you all next week. Have a great day.